Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rock Shop with Ralph. Today, my guest is the lead vocalist from hard rock band Dangerous Toys. He's the Pastor McMaster from the Church of Disaster. Let's welcome Jason McMaster.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
I know this is like my first morning interview I've done. But
Really?
when
Well, I'm sorry to break your run
no,
of
no,
of
no, no,
when
no,
it,
no,
yeah,
no. When
yeah,
you're as big,
had to do it this early.
yeah. When
Yeah.
when you're as big a fan of mine, excuse me. See, I'm getting tongue tied already. As big a fan of yours as I am, you make room for Jason McMaster.
Well, I appreciate the love. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
So we got the Queens boy and the cowboy. You're from Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing?
I'm fine and just surviving
Yeah,
and being as creative as I can. Um and not really paying attention to politics
I hear that.
or not paying attention to what I'm doing is I'll just say this without being political. I'm doing the work. I'm wearing a mask and washing my hands and getting vaxxed and I'm drinking the punch that the science is telling me to drink. Whether it works or not, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm still social distancing. I'm a little sketchy about getting back out there, but I have started to play out again. I did my first show a couple of weeks ago in 18 months, and that was fun. And it made me realize how out of shape I am. Things like that.
You don't look out of
But
shape. You look the same as you did in 1989.
well, thank you for that. But it's different when because I'm a vocal coach. I work with music students, and it's different being on a stage and rocking out and using wisely your energy to vocalize. It was an Igniter show. One of my bands, Igniter, is
One of the
basically
15 bands that you're in.
yeah, it's like power thrash metal. So I'm having to, test my limits quite a bit, song to song for about an hour. And yeah, let's just say it was a nice little workout.
Right. And I want to mention, I mean, you're involved in so many bands. I know we're pressed for time. We can't talk about all of them. But one thing I want to mention is one of your bands, Broken Teeth, does shows with friends of the show, Junkyard. They've been on the show, Tim and Pat from Junkyard. You guys are doing some shows with them as well in Texas.
Yeah, that's the Toys toured with Junkyard in '89,
Yeah.
but I can go back to 1981. I went to high school with David Roach.
I figured that because he's a Texas boy.
Yeah, he's from Austin, where we are.
Yeah, I had Pat Bazingo, the drummer, and I had Tim Moshe, the guitarist on. Great guys. One of my favorite interviews I've done. I mean, and that song they came out with, the new song they have is Lifer. I'm going to give them a plug real quick. And the song they came out with, Faded, I told them that song gets stuck in your head. And it's like one of those songs you just can't get rid of. What a great song. What a great song they came out with. And the CD as well.
They write great, what I just like to call, and this sounds kind of old fuddy-duddy or something, it's classic rock. They write classic rock.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
can say what you will about it, but it's just, it's fairly timeless rock and roll music.
Yes. Yes, they do. Hello, Pat. Hello, Tim. I know you're watching. Love you guys. Anyway, super excited to have you here. And
Awesome.
we were just talking about this. The influences you grew up with. I know you're a huge Kiss fan. As you can see in my studio here, I have Kiss all over the place.
Oh yeah, they're close by. I have a shrine about 8 feet away.
I
That's
also have my memorabilia case there too. You can't really see it, but I'm like, always buying, always going to the shows. I support them no matter what. Real quick, favorite Kiss album?
Hotter than hell.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I
Really?
can't. It's an impossible question, so I just like Tourette syndrome. I just blurt out.
Blurt it out.
Yeah,
Hotter Than Hell to me is very polished.
mhm.
Mine is Dressed to Kill, but everybody has their own opinion. I love some of the songs on Hotter Than Hell. I just felt
Yeah.
that was
Hotter than hell to me is raw. It's not polished.
ah
Yeah, the recording on it is like demo quality.
yeah, that was done. Richie Wise did that one. Yeah, but whatever. But to each his own. And I'm super excited. Like I said, you're a huge Kiss fan as I am. We could talk
Yeah.
Kiss all day.
Oh
But
yeah, that's right.
what we're going to talk about, because we're pressed for time, we're going to talk about your career. You started in the band Watchtower, where a lot of people know or don't know, and then you got in with the Toys Boys. So how did that come about? How did you leave Watchtower and get hooked up with Dangerous Toys?
It was not easy. I started out as a bass player growing up in South Texas. I'm from the Gulf of Mexico, Corpus Christi. I got to Austin in 80 or 81. And met some people, started a little band, and we're doing covers and stuff. And we couldn't find a singer, so me and the drummer started singing all the songs, and that lasted about short-lived, about 6 months. And I started calling around looking for more guitar players and just other people to do things with. And I met the Watchtower guys, and they already had a singer, but they said they had heard about me. And no, I had only been singing 6 months, and I was terrible.
In your opinion?
Well, I was a 17-year-old kid who had, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was a singing bass player just by default. And I was just playing rock and roll for fun. I wasn't trying to make it I was too young to think about career at 17. I just wanted to play rock and roll and with my friends. And anyway, ended up going over to a Watchtower rehearsal, and their singer didn't show up. So they asked me, hey, you want to sing some songs? Sure. And I knew about half. They did a bunch of covers like we did, but they also had original material, which they played for me, and I was completely blown away. These are kids my age that were, they could play, Rush and technical things, and they were 16 and 17 and 18 years old. Musicianship was off the chain. So I ended up singing some Saxon and some Judas Priest with those guys, and a week later they called me and said, we want you to be our singer. We just kicked our other guy out. And I'm like, what? It's like, why did you do that?
Right.
And so I cut my teeth as a singer in Watchtower, and we to not to go historically on Watchtower, but Watchtower is arguably the pioneer of progressive thrash metal.
I was
And
going to
you
say that,
and you
but
can yeah, and you can ask
anyone.
Mike Portnoy, um, Gene Hoglan. I mean, there's a lot of people that have my respect that were in touch with Watchtower guys and myself back in the day, and they're my go-to. It used to be Chuck Schuldiner, but he passed away years ago of brain cancer, as everybody knows. Chuck Schuldiner of death. So anyway, we made a mark. Little did we know that that was going to happen, because, like I said, we were just kids playing rock and roll. So fast forward to the close to the end of the decade, and I meet these guys in a band called Onyx. They had a girl singer who called herself Onyx, and they were like, doing. They were doing from Zeppelin and AC/DC to whatever was new on MTV, and they were like a circuit cover band. They had original material, but they were, they did a circuit of clubs, working cover band, play 2 or 3 sets, the gig. So,
Right.
um, I meet these guys in 80 in 80 88, 87 or 88, and they approached me around the end of 87, and they said, we lost our singer for whatever reason, and could you fill in so we can still do gigs? And because that's our job, cover bands, what they did. They weren't flipping burgers or anything. They were just playing, clubs and living hand to mouth off the money they made playing cover songs and shit. So I said, sure, that sounds fun. Actually, does sound fun to me. So I jumped in with those guys. We started, putting a set together, and we hadn't even played out yet, and we weren't going to call it Onyx. The phone rings, and it's the guy from, Onyx was kind of the house band at the local club. Every scene has one. he says, "We got to get you guys back in here. I heard you have this thrash metal singer singing for you guys now. Everyone's freaking out. We got to have you back in the club. You guys are our moneymaker. Y'all are our biggest drinking night. Da 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 da." So the pressure's on, and we're like, "Oh, well, okay. Well, I guess we have enough to do a set. Sure, why not?" So we had to come up with a name. What are you going to call it? And the guy's on the other end with a pen, about to write it in the calendar, and we haven't even discussed it. And so we came up with, I don't know, out of nowhere, Dangerous Toys. So
Wow.
it sucks, but we can change it later. Well, obviously we never changed it.
Until the fourth album.
Well, we didn't change it. So
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
yeah. But yeah, I like to play on words that we came up with because the record sounded so different.
Yeah.
So the and then it was kind of 6 months later we got hit by a bus. It was called a record deal. So who knew? We had no idea. So it was, to answer your question, I had spent almost a decade writing this crazy technical, strange, over the top metal that was influencing other people as well as yeah, that's good enough, and gaining momentum on an underground level, um, and I was already answering, I was pen pals with a lot of people, James Hetfield, Gene Hoglan, um, but I was also answering mail that people were sending us, and Mike Portnoy would send letters, and all Jason Newsted,
Wow.
fans. They were fans of what Watchtower was doing because it was so wild. Anyway, I was already in touch with the underground and all the fanzines and all that. Very DIY kind of thing, released our own record, da 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 da. So by the time I get to the toys thing, and then boom, there's an offer for an album, a record deal. I had to make the decision to jump the Watchtower ship, and I don't really have any regrets, but it was because I got to do a lot of cool things, and play and travel and play places that I had always dreamed about playing. But like I said, I don't think I ever really thought about, my goal is to be a rock star or get a record deal or anything. So it kind of like everything has just been this big, you want to do what? I questioned every little thing that somebody wanted to, hey, here, I'll give you a bunch of money if you come do this. I'm like,
right. It's hard to resist.
Yeah. So
Well,
it was a tough time, the transition. I caught a little bit of flack from hardcore Watchtower fans, but that's the past. So here I am making a record in Los Angeles with Max Norman,
Max Norman
who
from
produced
Ozzy and Megadeth.
Yeah, who produced some song called, I don't know, maybe you've heard, it's called Crazy Train.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I figured, yeah, I'd learned something from him, and I did. And the rest is kind of history.
Yes, it is, because I got to tell you, I was 19 years old in '89, and believe it or not, I did have hair at one time, Jason, and I was into the hair and the so-called hair metal. I hate to say that, but that's what it was called. But I grew up on Kiss, as we discussed, Kiss and Ozzy and Dio and Black Sabbath, and then I started listening to all these other bands, and then this band called Dangerous Toys comes out, and I'll never forget this. I heard that riff on MTV, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Teasing and Pleasing. I'm like, holy shit, these guys are for real. And Scott Dahl, I hope I pronounced his name, Dahlhover.
That's good.
Okay. Was from Celtic Frost, correct?
No.
Damn it. See?
No, he's
I
from
should have
Fort Hood. He grew up on a military base in Killeen, Texas.
No, I mean the band Celtic Frost.
Oh, what about Celtic Frost? What about him?
Wasn't he a guitarist in that band?
No.
He was not. Okay. I stand corrected then.
He was in some bands in Central Texas, and then he was in Dangerous Toys, and he still is.
Okay. I stand correct. Thank you very much. But anyway, I heard that riff and I was like, holy shit. So what do? I go out and buy the album. And on the album, you have to have one of the best mascots ever. You have a name for him?
Bill Beelzebub, like Beelzebub.
Beelzebub,
Yep.
Bill Zebub.
Bill Z Bub. Bill,
And,
middle initial Z Bub. Yeah.
and I remember how you guys were taking off because I remember I was at a show. I forgot what show it was. It might have been might have been like a Metallica or a Megadeth show or something. I saw him on somebody's arm. They were tattooing Beelzebub
Mm-hmm.
on their arms. And the songs you came out with there, Teasing and Pleasing, which was your big hit. You also had Scared,
Mm-hmm.
which was dedicated to Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
And any band that comes out with a song called Sportin' a Woody is all right in my book.
All right. Well, we tried to keep the humor, the tongue in cheek, I think that there's a way to be clever when you do things like that. I think we left clever alone on Sport and Woody. It was pretty straight up what it was about. But I think that phrase was, people's reaction was exactly what our reaction was when we decided to use it as a song title, because I think there's a lot of ways to describe a hard on, and I think that one was not very popular yet. So
I got a Woody. That
yeah,
was great. And then you guys, you first off, you got a gold album with that first album.
yep,
And you toured the shit out of that album. You
yep.
toured with The Cult, Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, Striper. Now, Striper, I want to ask about. And I had never had somebody that toured with Striper, and this isn't a knock on them. I'm only asking. How is that when you got like this? You guys are from Texas. I'm sure you drink. I'm not saying you do or you don't. I'm sure. I'm only guessing. You guys pounded away the beers and like to party, and those guys were like, I assume straight arrows. How was that?
Well, we never toured with Striper.
Really?
No. Watchtower played a show with Striper in February of 1985.
So Watchtower toured with Striper, or played a show with them.
Played
Played a show.
one show with them, and then the only involvement the Toys might have had with Striper would have been on one of the Monsters of Rock cruises, but that would have been over the last 7 or 8
Right,
years.
recently.
Yeah.
Recently.
Mhm.
Well, how about the other bands? I mean, what do you remember about touring with those other bands? Had to be like the time of your life. I mean, you went from relative obscurity to
Yeah. Band signs record deal, band records first record, band goes on tour. So the first tour we did was called a Z-Rock tour, is what we called it. Z-Rock was a syndicated satellite network, one of the first, I believe, that played hard rock and heavy metal, and you could local stations would pay a little bit of money and have it syndicated during certain hours of the day on a local dial, on the dial, right? And so it was kind of cool. It's kind of a special thing, but they sponsored our very first tour, so we were doing little live. We would play a show, and they would bring a truck out, and we would play live on the air. We went from through Texas all the way to Colorado, to Los Angeles, doing this first leg of the Z-Rock tour. When we got to Los Angeles, it was KNAC, was
Enact.
the big rock radio station in
Right.
Los Angeles, Orange County area, and we the label had rented the whiskey, and rented the Whiskey a Go-Go, the venue, not the drink. And they might as well have rented that too and served it free, because it's
Right.
pretty much what happened. Anyway, and they gave away tickets on KNAC, so that was like a big deal. It was like, at the time it was still CBS Music. Sony had not, the merger hadn't happened with Sony yet, so it was CBS Records. So that means it was new bands that were on Epic and Columbia. So we were there. There was some other bands there that honestly I can't remember who they were, but they were all new signings, right? And it seemed, if there was someone that would have made a dent later on, I would probably remember them. But I apologize to the world. I do not remember any of them, so I don't know what happened to them.
It was the
But
80s.
Alice Cooper. I met Alice Cooper that night.
And that was one of
I'm
the
in,
questions I was going to ask you.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
up in the dressing room, and and someone walks by me and said, "Jason, Alice Cooper's on his way up the stairs." And I'm like, "What the what?
Holy shit.
What?" And I'm holding these stinky leather pants in my hand, just going frozen, going, "Well, I don't even know." Total fanboy. Just went right into fanboy. Just I didn't have any words. I was just frozen. I didn't know. It was crazy. So he really had me starstruck. Uh,
Did he know that you wrote the song about him?
Someone had told him, and I think I may have mentioned it to him. Hey, we have a song on a record, and we throw a nod to you, and I plagiarized some of your words here and there, and he thought that was funny. But
Maybe I'm
he
becoming his pet.
he was all very well. I mentioned Lace and Whiskey,
Yeah.
and there's a couple other little things. The first line in the song is "Who is
Who
the
is the
man
man in the white
in
vest?
the white vest?" And the white vest is his straight jacket.
Yeah.
hmm Okay, so that happens, and we continue that run, and we uh, go to New York, and it was my first time in New York, and I was saying earlier, I fell in love with New York. It didn't make me want to move there per se, but
Yeah, you told me
a
that.
lot of really cool things I got to do in New York, and I was living high on the hog, as we say in Texas. It was I was being whisked around in limos and such. So here's these kids from Texas who had never been anywhere, first time in New York, and we're riding around in a limo, just looking out the window like it was like the Beverly Hillbillies. It was pretty wild. But I got to do some cool stuff just not by way of sightseeing, but just staying in nice hotels and going to CBS Records, the label, and the high rises down there, and we played at the old Studio 54, which was called the Ritz at that time.
Yep. Yeah, they were
And
playing rock bands then.
we played with Warrant
Joey.
and Extreme, which were, Warrant they were both newer signings, but both those bands had started to take off, right? So it was kind of like a label party sort of show, that they put on there at the Ritz, and it was great. And we met Tommy Mottola, and it was crazy, man. Um, had a great time, um, and then we ended up back in Austin, and we started. That would have been pretty much over the summer. We started another leg in September with Junkyard. So it was Junkyard Dangerous Toys for most of September. By the middle of October, we were supporting LA Guns. That went till the end. That went till like Thanksgiving in November, end of November. So 5 or 6 weeks of touring with LA Guns. That was a Cocked and Loaded tour.
Cocked and loaded.
We ended that at the Hollywood Palladium. So there we are back in LA. Not we were just there a few months earlier, back in LA, and that was great. Um, we went home after that and had holidays, right? And then we like well, not much of holidays because it was the yeah, we went home after that Thanksgiving gig, and I think a couple of weeks later we were in Europe with Faster Pussycat. So it was the Almighty, which is a Scottish UK band. The singer is in Black Star Riders. Can't think of
Oh,
his
Ricky
name right now. Sorry about
Ricky
that.
Warwick.
Ricky Warwick. Thank you, Ricky Warwick. God, I'm gonna get killed for that.
No, you're not. It's all right. I made a mistake. You make a mistake. It's okay. Don't
All
worry
right.
about it. It's
Ricky's
all
great.
good.
Ricky's good people. We got to hang with those guys a little bit, and we were using some of their gear, I think. Anyway, so that was great because I'd never been to Europe.
I was going to say, how'd the fans
Well,
perceive you there?
it's kind of funny, and this is kind of the business side of things. Is our record hadn't quite come out. Like our record came, we were over there. We did the first like 2 or 3 shows, and our record hadn't even out yet. There was a buzz going on, but
Right.
people couldn't go to the store and buy the record. I remember some people had come up and had us sign it, but they had bought it domestically. They had it shipped over.
Right.
So if you're in Germany and you have the record, you ordered it from America. So it's technically an
Yeah,
import.
like us with the Japanese imports.
Same thing, right? So so the record did come out while we were there, while we were touring there. That was interesting. But we did a couple things in the UK. We did around England. Played Hammersmith Odeon. Played a bunch of clubs in Germany, and that was a lot of fun playing these little bars in Germany. And the German fans are crazy. And I signed a lot of Watchtower stuff over there.
Wow.
So, it had come a little bit full circle by way of there was a lot of fans that I had been pen pals with during my Watchtower days that were still, they were bummed that I wasn't in Watchtower anymore, but they got our independent record that we had released. They had actually, ordered it back then, and I got to meet them face to face and sign their record. So that was kind of awesome, and did a lot of press, and a lot of the press was underground fan metal zines that wanted to talk to me about Watchtower. So that was a little bit confusing on
Right. Were you second guessing yourself at that time?
No, 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 because it wasn't Watchtower that had gotten me to Europe at that
Exactly. I
point.
was going to say.
It was this brand new band, and it was
Yeah.
kind of. I think that there was a lot of like question marks flying around my head, like.
Why are they asking you about Watchtower when you're touring with
No,
Dangerous Toys?
no, it wasn't. I was not surprised at all because I knew these people. I knew these people's names from the underground heavy metal magazines that they were the editors for. So it wasn't a surprise that they wanted to talk to me about Watchtower. I did plenty of Dangerous Toys themed interviews over there, but very interesting time. Came back and started New Year's Eve Long Beach Arena with the Cult and Bonham. And that went on let's see, January, February, March, maybe April. And then we went home and wrote a record, and that was Hellacious Acres.
Yes, what I want to talk a little bit about. So, fans, if you're getting to know Jason McMaster right now, the first album you have to get with Dangerous Toys is their debut album. By far, my opinion, their best album. And the best album is going to be the one they're going to be writing next. But so far, their best album is their debut album. You came out with Hellacious Acres. Mm-hmm. Now, I always say this when I interview rock stars per se of yourself from that era. It seems like grunge was rearing its head and the climate was changing. And I feel on this album, I like the album. Don't get me wrong. I really do like the album. I feel that there was some outside influences on telling you what to do as far as writing and recording. That's only my opinion. You can tell me what the story was, but it was like a little bit different than the first album. The first album had a lot more grittiness to it, and you take forever. It's always your first album and it takes you longer and you want to get it right. And you're just doing whatever you want with the first album. The second album, my opinion was, I felt like you had the Bad Company song on there, Feel Like Making Love. Mm-hmm. So what's your take on the second album, Hellacious Acres?
Well, it's not the band's favorite moment. We were pulled off the road to go write a record. There was not arguing per se with the label. We were talking to the label through management. We're like, are we selling units? Oh yeah. Are we selling merchandise? Oh, like gangbusters. It's your merch and all the numbers look great. So why do you want to take us off the road? And we're high profile right now, out on the Sonic Temple the Cult tour.
Right, the biggest album,
#1 record. Da 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 da. Your window of opportunity, your contract says that you need to be in the studio pretty soon, so you guys need to go write some more songs. So there was that, and we were a little bit like bummed because I would have rather stayed out there and just milked the crap because of the climate.
Right, right. Sure. I agree.
Because of the musical landscape, I would have rather stayed on the road and just milked the crap out of it and came out with a different kind of record later. What I mean by a different kind of record is Pissed, right?
Yeah. You should have named the second album Pissed.
Which is our third record. So anyway, and a lot of things had changed between Hellacious Acres and the third record, which is called Pissed, if you didn't get that so far. So anyway, we go off the road, we finish writing the songs, we get a producer, and I feel like even though the producer is Roy Thomas Baker, who's done Queen and Cheap Trick and Journey and the Cars. He's amazing. He's a great he's a legend. He's a legend. That's all I gotta say. I mean, Queen, Bad Company, the Bad Company cover. Here you go. So me and Danny are in there just messing with that song, and everyone starts playing along in a rehearsal type situation. And Roy is there, Roy Thomas Baker, and he hears that, and he's like, "Oh, you guys should put that on the record." And I'm like, we'll pause for a second. Well, Roy produced that song with Bad Company.
Right.
So he may even have points on that song on the he may even own part of that. So who knows? Anyway, I don't recall or not, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. And I love Bad Company. I didn't really have an argument against it. But it was interesting. If you listen to the original version of that song, it's actually in a lower key. And it was Roy's idea to raise the key so when it gets up into the chorus and I'm singing the chorus, it sounds like Dangerous Toys because I'm using that voice. And the voice I'm talking about.
Of course.
That upper register in the stratosphere kind of thing. So that was, I thought, fairly genius because we were still learning. We were still kind of green about, I was happy to just try to do my best Paul Rogers. I love Paul Rogers. He's like a great soul singer, blues guy, right?
And then you got his producer producing you as well.
Right. Who wanted me to change it so I sound more like me, so to speak. And anyway, I think that worked out. I think that song is a fan favorite, but in retrospect, when I think about Hellacious Acres, by the way, we just celebrated a 30th year anniversary of Hellacious Acres. Came out in June of 91, and it's now August of 21. So anyway, about half the record is good. We still play a bunch of the songs from
Give Me No Lip.
We play Give Me No Lip.
That's my favorite.
That was probably the first song that we wrote for that record. And actually, we wrote that song while rehearsing for the tour. We had recorded the first album and went into rehearsals and wrote Give Me No Lip.
Yeah.
So that almost could have made the first record, Give Me No Lip. But
sounds like it could be, sure.
Yeah, we had Sportin' a Woody. So, you have that that shuffle beat.
Right.
Give Me No Lip is into that. The Toys have like two drum beats. We have to-toot-to-cat, and we have boom, cat, boom, and that's it. So, keep it steady and easy and make people rock out and have a good time. That's kind of our message.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are so we had Give Me No Lip. We line them up. We do
line them up, right?
We do
Sticks and Stones.
No, we don't do Sticks.
Well, I'm saying it's on the album.
Yeah,
but you don't do it, right?
So the songs that we do are Give Me No Lip, Line 'Em Up, Sugar Leather in the Nail, Angel in You, and I think there's one more, and I'm missing it at the moment.
I couldn't take because I haven't seen you live in 30 years. So
a long time, right?
Yeah. So I couldn't tell you, and I hope that changes.
I think Sticks and Stones is a good tune, but I believe that there's some songs on there that I will attest that are just half cooked
filler.
Yeah, I hate the word.
You got to use it. We got to use it. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, and there might even be some filler on the first record too.
No, don't say that. Dare you?
Well,
come on, bro. That's my favorite album. I'm telling everyone that's the album to get.
I understand, but I look at it through different eyes when you're talking about the technical side of it all.
Yeah. That's like you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's like you with Hotter Than Hell and me with Dress to Kill. Difference of opinion.
Right. So, Hotter Than Hell, I mean, the guys in Kiss will tell you, that, there's, do we even play any of those songs live anymore? That's what it is. But we milk the shit out of the first record. We play almost every tune. We even play That Dog. And That Dog is, in my opinion, kind of filler.
Yeah. All right,
Um,
I'll give you that one.
yeah, you see what I mean now. And
Yeah.
that's your favorite record and you understand what
Awesome.
I'm saying.
Awesome.
So Bad Guy, maybe On Top. A lot of people like On
He
Top.
likes it on top. Yeah.
Yeah, On Top, Bad Guy, Sticks and Stones is pretty cool. People love Best of Friends. We've done it live maybe this many times, 2 or 3 times. It's
That
just
would you say like your ballad?
yeah, we don't do ballads live.
Yeah.
We used to on the Cult tour, we were doing Feels Like a Hammer, and Ian Astbury of the Cult would come out every night because we played the same set every
Right.
night, right at the same time, because it was everything's run when you're on a major tour.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
clock.
to the minute.
Yeah, yep. If you start late, that's a song off your set. You're stopping. We're pulling the plug at 8:30. Whatever it is.
Right.
He would show up side of the stage to hear us play that song every night, and we just stopped playing our ballads and.
Yeah.
We don't play Feels Like Making Love. We just do the songs that we feel are, that rose to the top, and those are the ones I mentioned a minute ago.
And I know we're pressed for time here, so I'm going to move along. I'm try to wrap it up as soon as I can. The third album you came out with, you got dropped by Columbia. I'm trying to do the edited version. You
No,
can
that's
always come
okay.
back.
We got some time. You don't
All
have
right,
to
good.
rush.
So
Mhm.
anyway, you get dropped as a lot of bands from our era do, and
Yeah,
when
we
grunge
asked
hit.
we asked them to drop us.
Oh, did you? That's great that you hear him and clear that
Well,
up.
we no, you didn't do anything wrong. It went like this. It was more like you know, we are it's we the Hellacious Acres, the tour that everyone talks about is Operation Rock and Roll. So we got to tour with our idols. It was Metal Church, Motorhead, Alice Cooper, and Judas Priest, with Little Old Dangerous Toys, who's not a metal band, who's not as heavy as any of those bands. Alice Cooper we might fit with the
Right.
most, um, and we don't really even. He's more shock rock, and we're just a rock and roll band. So it was interesting. It was a great tour. It was a little bit ill-fated ticket sales wise if you look at it at numbers and you're an investor or something. But
Right.
from the fans' eyes and from my eyes, there's no we could do no wrong with that tour. Only a handful of dates fell by the wayside because of lack of ticket sales. So I just wanted to clear that up. That's like that's monumental, and it was a tour that was happening in the time where the musical landscape was, it was summer '91.
Of course.
Things were weird for rock and roll and
I
heavy
know.
metal at that point, except for Metallica, who were poised to stay right there with
Right. They
Guns
never
N'
went
Roses.
anywhere.
Right, to stay with Guns N' Roses. But see, if they would have stayed in the underground, it would have been harder for them if they wouldn't have made the Black Album. But that's a new show. That's a different show.
It's a different show.
Yeah.
I could have a whole show on the effect of our bands in the grunge era. It's just a running theme. If you go back to
Right.
my past interviews, I always bring it up. It always seems to be the second or third album from bands that we grew, like yourself, Warrant, Badlands. I all the guests on my show, they all got per se fucked by the grunge era. The
Well,
musical
maybe.
climate changed.
Yeah, maybe. I think that there were bands that were smart about it. That some people say Metallica sold out when they put out the Black Album. I think that is a relative term. I think that if Metallica wouldn't have, gotten the right, producer and the right, were in the frame of mind. They were in the right frame of mind because they survived. And they were on the rise anyway. I mean, and Justice for All is like this. That's like their progressive metal album.
Yeah.
It's so over the top. And then they put out the Black Album. So, but that if they wouldn't have jumped into those shoes and be poised for just mega stardom, like Led Zeppelin size, kind of world, um, they would have they wouldn't they it would have taken them longer to get. I think that they still would have made mega stardom, but it could have taken them a couple more records. So they were smart, I think, to put those shoes on and jump into that little thing right there and have their shit together because of the musical landscape, because of grunge, because of Guns N' Roses, because of, Guns N' Roses got lucky with Appetite as well, and probably even came out a little too late, but it still broke. When they put out Use Your Illusion, everyone was excited that they had a new record out, but then after a little while, they're going, "Where's my copy of Appetite again?"
Yeah, I
See what I'm
wasn't
saying?
crazy about Use Your Illusion and one and two.
And that's honest. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with Use Your Illusion, but your go-to is not Use Your Illusion. It's
Of
going to be
course,
Appetite. Yeah.
the
Okay.
the
Well,
debut album.
You could say the same thing about Metallica. They just had a lot more go-to.
Yes,
But the
definitely.
Black Album is the Black Album is like a Use Your Illusion. It took them in. It set them into a place where they were going to be unaffected by everything else that was happening.
And you can hear the bass. Remember, everybody said you couldn't hear the bass on a Metallica album.
Once again, that's a whole other show.
Yeah, that's a whole other show.
So
and you mentioned selling out with them. I'm not saying they sold out, but when they changed,
No.
it was when they came out with Load and Reload, Until It Sleeps, and all the other stuff.
Well, they had to figure out why
Cut their hair.
why they need to be Metallica. And
Yes.
I think that there was some demons floating around in some of their minds, and they needed to get their head straight and
Yes.
figure out what it is they needed to do to be Metallica. And I'm glad that they did.
So we're staying on the point with Dangerous Toys.
Yeah.
And here's what I got to tell you as a fan. Here's where I got confused. Pissed. I understand the name of the album. You guys were pissed. You said you wanted to get dropped. You got dropped. To me, it's an okay album. It's not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I still listen to it. I like it. I don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand because the musical climate was changed and you guys were getting, my opinion, you guys were kind of getting fed up. And where I really got confused was the next album when you said the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys. Then I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
If you read the record, you see the name of the band. It says Dangerous Toys.
Mm-hmm.
Then underneath it, it says the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys.
Right.
Which was a play
on Prince. Yeah,
on Prince. And we even took the Love Sexy cover and replaced Prince naked on the cover with the clown naked on the cover.
Well, that's how, Jason, I'm like, as a fan, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Do they want to like stop the band? I mean, I understand grunge is out. Now I'm only saying I'm a huge fan. And as a fan, I was confused. I'm like, what are they trying to do? And the album itself is like it's different.
But that's why it's called the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys, because when you hear it, you're going to go, wait, did
right
wrong record? What, because it's totally this, 180 kind of thing. We had lost original members. I was playing bass. It was a 4-piece band. It was the climate change. It was weird. Lot of things have gone down that we might have been confused by, influenced by. It was DIY. We were on a much smaller label.
Yeah.
If we go back a little bit, and so we did the Operation Rock and Roll tour with Priest and Alice. So that would have been Painkiller and Hey Stupid. Motorhead's record they were touring was 1916. I mean, I got to admit, this is a whole other show too, but Rob Halford quit Judas Priest.
Yep.
So there's a thing there that you throw into the mix of the era of,
and he started Fight,
the strange thing that we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other show. So anyway, we come off the road from that and we start writing again. And we're writing and we're writing and we're writing. And okay, so let's say we would put together like a handful of songs, 3 or 4 songs, maybe over a couple of weeks. We have like 4 songs that we feel strong about. And we're just using an 8-track recorder in a room together. And like we were in there 5 days a week, like a day job, writing songs. And we would burn copies and send them to the management, and the management would send them over to the label. Well, we did that like so many times. My guesstimation is we had written 60, 70,
Wow.
80 fucking songs.
Now, were those songs like? I'm sorry, just one question. Were those
Uh-huh.
songs like the first Judas Priest, the first Dangerous Toys album, or that new album?
Well, some of these songs that were during this sort of incubation period where we're just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing produced some of the songs that were on Pissed.
Aha.
So it ended up being songs that were put together for the Pissed album. But when you have so many songs, it was Ralph, it was any kind of song. We were writing any kind of song we
You were
just
just
felt like writing.
right.
We were
You had nothing to
going,
lose.
let's just break down our walls that we feel like we have to be all the time. And I mean, sure, we would write things like that. Oh, that sounds a little bit like teasing, or that feels like a give me no lip kind of thing. I like that. Do that thing. It's a process, right? You think about, but you start. That would be second guessing. That's where you start going. Well, we need to write a song. But you start squeezing in, and what you need to do ends up being in this very small
And you
space.
sound like the record company.
And you don't really want to limit yourself on your creativity. So we're writing all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's Dangerous Toys, and we're still, we're playing dirty old rock and roll, and so of
Yeah.
course it is what it is. Um, anyway, so after a while, after this goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and months, and the label, wait, what did they think of those? They say the same thing every week, Jason. Keep writing. Keep
Oh
writing.
boy.
Keep writing. Keep writing. And then one day we go, "Well, what did they say?" Keep writing. I said, "Can you ask them if we can just go home? Can you
Yeah.
ask them if they can just like, cut the cord? Can we just?" And so days later we got everything's cool. You guys, they don't, no harm, no problem, all good. So we had literally asked them, it's just like, we're not writing songs for you anyway. We're writing songs for us.
Right.
Of course, we need to know that you're digging where we are as a rock band, but we're not gonna change because we feel like we have to. If we're gonna change the way this band sounds, something a little bit more drastic is going to have to happen than grunge is big, or Rob quits Judas Priest, or
Right.
it has to something's going to have to affect us immediate, right? So we ended up we lost Danny Aaron, we gained Paul Lydell, and that's who we had been
From Dirty
ri-
Looks.
writing with, correct? And so he's in the band, and we're writing, and he played on Pissed. He played on Pissed. So we get an independent deal. We put a record together with the tunes that we had written, and we go out to Los Angeles and we record Pissed. And I know you said it's not your favorite, but you're over there with only just a few people, because everyone I talk to, and it's fine. I completely respect your where
I didn't
you
say I
are.
didn't like it. I never
No, I
said I
know
didn't
that.
like it. Yeah.
I know that. I know
I'm
that.
just comparing it to, first, second, and that one.
Yeah,
I'm
and
still
that
a fan. I love
no,
everything you guys do. I'll
no,
follow you wherever you go.
I'm not challenging
Yeah, yeah.
anybody's opinion about anything, because everybody's entitled.
Right.
So the Piss record like changed people's like, oh, I like this. This is dirtier and a little bit meaner, and it's like this should have been your second album. And
See, I
so
said the same thing.
these are compliments, right? That
Yeah.
I'm taking as compliment. And so it's like, yeah, but the label we were on's short-lived independent label, and so things were changing, and
Right.
a little bit challenging to continue with business as usual. Um, and there's a lot of other little things. Paul was a great addition to the band, but when we went out to record, um, and we came back and we were extremely happy with the process. Bass player Mike Watson decides to quit. He recorded the record. We came back home, and he decided to quit. And it doesn't matter why. Complete respect to his opinion, his his choices to be where he felt like he needed to be in his life, and that's fine. So we had a tour. We had a 200-date tour to do, and uh, so we call Michael Hannon from Salty Dog, and he comes in and does the tour with us. He was already a friend of ours. We were a fan of Salty Dog. Michael Hannon actually sang some backup vocals on Sticks and Stones on Hellacious Acres. So, he was out in LA during that whole time. And
Perfect fit.
yeah, so we called him and he came in. And, well, Mike Watson does a lot of the harmonies, like all high harmonies on all those old Toy songs. That's Mike Watson. But Paul Idell sings like a bird too. Paul Idell is amazing. I've been extremely lucky to be able to write parts that have these layers, to have these guys on. Mike and Paul, they're better singers than I am. They're gonna figure this out, and then Michael Hannon is a little bit more, a little bit more Alice Cooper meets Lemmy or something. So we changed some things, and even Scott Dalhoover sang a little bit on that tour. So we go out with new, with new guys, Paul Idell and Michael Hannon, and it's me, Mark, and Scott, and we do this tour, and it was great. We had a great time, and fans showed up, and it was still happening. And this was in '94. So we come home off of that, and Michael Hannon goes back to Columbus, where he's from. So we didn't have any plans to keep him in the in the circle when we started writing again. I started playing my bass again and writing with Scott and Paul, and things were obviously different, right? We ended up with the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys, which it was not a conscious decision. Like, all right, we're gonna write some stuff that sounds entirely different. Here's the process. So Paul will give me a cassette tape because it's a long time ago, of riffs and parts with a drum machine, and Scott will give me a cassette tape with parts and little ditties and 2-minute versions of song ideas, and like maybe 7 or 8 different little ditties with the drum machine, da 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 da. Rough demos, no
Right.
vocals on them, no melody suggestions, and we'll start putting them together as a band. It started to be a process where it ended up just being me and Paul putting parts together that Scott submitted, and or parts that I had, and parts that Paul had, along with the drum machine. It ended up being that way, which is not the process that we had had previously, where all 5 guys are sweaty in the garage
Right. Everything's different.
banging out rock and roll songs. Things had changed all of a sudden. And so maybe that influenced the sound that we were coming out with, but I don't really think it was necessarily that, because by the time we had songs to work on, Mark was back in there behind the kit, and we were putting these tunes together. And you know what, Ralph? We were having the time of our lives. Maybe because we felt it was different. Wow,
Right.
that's heavy as shit. Wow, that melody is strong, and I realized that I wasn't, there was no shubidi mamada, there was no baby baby, there was no crotch grabbing going on, there was no, the little bit of that essence had changed. Of course, I'm playing bass and singing. You get
Right.
it? So
I get you. It's not the same.
it's not even really the same band anymore. It's like this bastard version of it, this angry version of it. Um, so the idea was to get a bass player in the band to make the record and to tour. What had happened was is the guy that produced Pissed had come to Austin to work on some the tunes with us, and we're at dinner and we're listening to the demos, and he's loving it. Because he made Piss, and he knows the first 2 records, and he knows what the band is. Here I am quoting, supposed to sound like. See, there we go, building those walls for us to
Right.
climb, or which is could be the kiss of death. You don't know. Um, and he's loving the songs. And he goes, "Well, who's in the band?" I'm like, "Well, it's all of us." And he goes, "Well, a four-piece?" He goes, I said, "Yeah, I'm playing bass." And I go, "But don't worry, we're gonna get a bass player." And he goes, "No, no, no, no. If you don't play bass on these songs in the studio, I won't make the record with you."
Really?
Yeah, he loved it. He was like, "This
Well, we
is."
know you're a bass player first and foremost.
Yeah, I dabble a little bit. I play a little bit of everything, enough to write a song, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of, I don't claim much of it anymore, but I do give basic guitar lessons. I've been teaching for 15 years, so I guess I'm not terrible, but I don't claim it. I don't tell people I'm a guitar player. I don't tell people I'm a drummer, but I can play them enough to write songs,
I
right?
hear that.
Anyway, so we make this record and it comes out. The tour was ill-fated. The record company went belly up, and it was just it ended up being a kiss of death. But I'm telling you, it's not necessarily because the record was so different. It's because of this thing we keep saying, the musical landscape,
Changed.
just as much as the business and the mergers and the digital age is coming, coming at us like a bullet train.
Right.
I want to back up something that this is, which is a misconception, which is not anybody's fault, especially when you read the liner notes. The Pissed album, I had absolutely nothing to do with that rant that's going on in there. The
You
record,
mentioned it.
the record is called Pissed because there's a song called Pissed, and the song Pissed is not about F you to the record labels and F you to the people who weren't there when we needed them. And it's not all that. That's kind of a little bit of a like, what? Why are you going to be a crybaby about that?
Right.
That's how I looked at it. So there was some confusion going on as far as that was going on. I was not consulted as to what kind of message or liner notes needed to happen when that record was being put together, as far as the layout and everything.
I got you. So here's a question I'm going to ask you, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about what Dangerous Toys is doing today, and we'll talk about a new project, and we'll
Okay.
wrap it up.
Okay.
I know these are all your babies. Can you rate the 4 albums for me? Best to worst. I'm only saying the name worst because I should say, well, let's say first to last. Your opinion.
No, I can't.
Come on.
I love the art. I love the artist formerly known as.
As number 1.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not playing your game, Ralph. I can't do
Oh,
it.
damn
I
it.
can't do it. I love the artist because it was challenging as a songwriter.
Okay.
And
I'll take it.
I feel like there's some melodies and some things that are happening musically in there that like really open my eyes to like make me feel like I had arrived as a songwriter. Let's pretend that it's not Dangerous Toys. Let's just think about it from song to song to song. Let's forget that it says Dangerous Toys on the cover. Let's think about it. Let's change the name of the band. Let's change.
Aha.
It's not my name. It's not Dangerous Toys. It's not Dangerous Toys. It's not. Which is why we called the record Dangerous Toys.
Right. I got you. My opinion with that was, and I was going to mention this to you. You should have did, and Motley Crue should have did the same thing when they got John Corabi and they named that album. They called themselves Motley Crue. They should have changed the name and went to another band. I believe on that record.
I'm not too proud to say they did the right thing and we did the right thing because they both bands wanted to get paid.
Okay, you can say that.
Change the name of the band and then you
well, that's why, of course, they did it.
Hold on. If you change the name of the band and then you put that record out under a new name and then you go into teasing pleasing,
they're like, whoa, this is Dangerous Toys.
That doesn't work. See, so you got to keep the name of the band. So,
I got you.
So we may have played 3 or 4 songs off of the artist, and the rest of it was shit you already know.
Right? Exactly.
So same with Motley Crue. They play 2 or 3 tunes, and the rest of it's Vince Neil shit.
I got you.
Same thing. That doesn't work.
Well, I want to give. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna finish playing the game. So I think that Pissed and the artist have moments on them I am extremely proud of. And for whatever reason, it's unfortunate that we don't always play some of the songs off of Pissed that I love Illustrated Man. I love Screaming for More. I mean, these are heartfelt moments. These are. I mean, those two songs right there could have been on the artist formerly known as. They
Okay.
really could have if you kind of bend your head a little bit. But I think that Promise the Moon is a home run. I think that that
Great song.
is all. Yes. See where I'm going. I'm looking at these as songs, not albums, right?
I got you.
But I think that there's we do Pain Train live. We do Pissed, we do Pain Train, we do sometimes we do Hard Luck Champion, but we always do Pissed. And there, there's more on there that we do, but we used to do Strange, which is an awesome song.
I was gonna say it's one of my favorites on there.
Yes, Strange could have been on the artist formerly too. See what I'm saying? So
Yeah, you're gonna have to maybe go back and listen to that album again.
they're both great records. That's why
No,
it's
I
really
mean
hard.
the
It's
the
really
latter.
hard. It's really hard for me to pick one, right? I
I
guess
got
if
you.
I had to pick one, Ralph, to play your game correctly, and I'm sorry to be a hard ass, but might be Pissed. Like I just blurted out Hotter Than Hell. It's probably not Hotter Than Hell. It's because I can't. I love Rock and Roll Over. So
That's one
what
of
am I
my
gonna
favorites.
do? I love every song on Rock and Roll Over. So yeah.
Yeah, I
But
heard you do a great
anyway,
version of them. You do Mr. Speed, don't you?
yeah, with Cash is King, I did Mr. Speed a while back. Yeah. Rock Bottom, which is from
Dress
Dress
to
to
Kill.
Kill. My band Broken Teeth did Rock Bottom.
Love Rock Bottom.
Yeah, Rock Bottom on you can find that on Broken Teeth, Four on the Floor.
Awesome. I want to give a shout out because Dangerous Toys still plays sporadically. You'll play the Monsters of Rock cruise. You have some gigs coming up. Now, I want to make sure we know who's in the band still and who's in the band now. You got you still have Scott Dahlhover. You got
Yes.
Paul Lydell, Mike
Yes.
Watson, and Mark Geary, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
I mentioned Mike quit the band. That was short lived.
Right, he's back in.
He was back in the band he was only out for like 3.5 years.
Okay.
And we were all busy. I was busy as hell doing other things during that time. Broken Teeth started in '99. Mike Watson was back. He did his first gig back with us, opening for Alice Cooper in '99 in Dallas, and he's been back ever since. And yeah, we play about average, other than in recent years, of course, because of you know what.
Right.
But like maybe 7 to 10 shows a year.
Right. Whatever suits you logistically. If it works, it works.
Well, if you go out and play for a couple of grand a night, that's not going to split 5 ways with a small crew
True.
and rent a bus, and it doesn't business wise that
Right.
doesn't work out. We don't have investors or tour support or anything. Like those days are over. It's a different world now.
Mhm.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not mad at it. I play rock and roll for the right reason, not not to. I don't like to look at it as numbers game. But it does make sense to only play select shows when the money is right, because it's going to be an event and not just a string of dates where you lose your ass and come back into work Monday morning and where you been? I just got off tour, and a lot of bands do that just so they can wear that crown, and
Right.
that's horseshit.
And you maxed out your credit card.
That's a maxed out credit card. That's a broken down van.
Right.
You're playing at.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you totally.
Yeah,
I hear you totally.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm going to say it. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a new Dangerous Toys record. I know you hear it a lot. There was rumblings a couple of years back that Scott had some demos, stuff like that. So I'm not going to ask you the inevitable question that's asked in all the interviews. Are you going to be making a new record? We're just going to keep our fingers crossed and hope that you will.
I've already I've already said too much in other interviews. There are about 7 or 8 songs that are fully written.
Awesome.
And about 3 or 4 of them are actually recorded.
Uh-oh. So we are getting somewhere.
I'll even give you titles.
Hold Your Horses.
Hold Your Horses is pretty much on the shelf, kind of done.
Great song.
Oh, it needs some tweaks here and there. A song called Rise and Shine, a song called Hangman's Boogie,
Ooh, that the
uh,
title
a,
alone sounds
a
awesome.
song called Pretend It's Candy. See, these sound like Dangerous Toy songs.
That sounds like, come on, Jason. Those sound like Dangerous Toy songs.
Well, because they are, my friend.
I know, but I'm saying first album, a real Dangerous Toy song. Or Pissed. And we can go back and forth with the other ones. But I thank God.
So
thank God.
there's no release date. We don't know. We're working extremely slow. And, you know, some things that happened that have kind of slowed us down that, you know, I won't talk about, but
No problem.
there are, yeah. So, you know, just life gets in the way, things happen. And,
Sure.
you know, especially with the social distancing and
Yeah, what a
you know, we don't live close to each other either. So, you know.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention was now you guys signed a deal with EMP, right? They released your back catalog. Are you guys still with them, or because of Junior's problems, is it defunct?
They did not release the back catalog.
They didn't.
No, there was for a while, Pissed was available. That's the only record that they did a reissue of, and they did a bang up job. It's awesome. If you can find a copy of that, those listening and watching, if you can find a copy of that EMP version of Pissed, it's remastered. It's louder.
I have it on cassette.
It sound well. The newer version, the CD and the vinyl, it sounds amazing. It's just a better EQ, so to speak, right?
Yes.
It's been mastered. The volume is overall louder. It's bigger sounding. Sounds amazing on vinyl. If you can find a vinyl copy, you know, because it never came out on vinyl, so it's technically out of print right now. But I think that there are some like Discogs. You could probably get one. There's a bunch of there's probably some on eBay. You know, but I don't think that Ellison's label is per se working anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
They're kind of done, and that's fine. It was a good run. They released a lot of great music.
Yeah, Autograph. I interviewed Autograph. They were on his label.
Yeah. So you know, the Piss. You know, that was one of the great things. They also released Broken Teeth 4 on the Floor. They released Igniter. Haunted by Rock and Roll, and I feel like one more or something else. I mean, everything I had was on the label for.
Not Kill 'Em All, right?
I'm sorry, that's
Kill
a
'Em All
Metallica record.
No, your band, Kill 'Em All.
Oh, that's a tribute.
I know they didn't do anything with that, right? You were just playing out with that.
Well, you can't a tribute band putting out a record that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, I'm just you mentioned all your bands, so I just wanted to throw that one out there.
Oh, right, yeah. I dabble in some tribute bands,
and you play rhythm guitar in that.
Yeah,
right.
Yep, I am Jason McHetfield. Terribly, but I'm having more fun than anyone else in the room.
Awesome. Now I want to mention the new project you have, Cash is King. Okay, with Dan Lorenzo from Hades. Yeah. I got to tell you, Jason, I'm liking this record because I'm a huge Dio fan, and I hear a mixture of Dio, maybe Ripper Owens in your voice, and the sound itself is a Sabbathy sound on this record. I mean, I got to give it to you. This side of Forever. That sounds just you sounded like my boy Ronnie James Dio. I mean, Ronnie Dio's on my arm, and that's a total compliment.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. I say this a lot, and I don't think Dan really minds me saying this about his riffs, but his riffs are Sabbath influenced.
Absolutely, I hear it right away.
Are dirgy and zigzag and dark, and they're very Iommi. And so it lends me to think when I hear his riffs and even Ron's drums, you know, Ron was an Overkill for like, I don't know, a decade.
Ron Lipnicki.
Yeah. And he is amazing. He's quickly, from Knee Jerk Reaction is one of my favorite drummers right now.
Apocalyptic Nations.
Because of he kills on that. So because
that's a drum song.
Because of his drumming on this record, I'm like makes me want to go back and find the Overkill records I have with him playing on them just to hear it from him.
Right.
But
Right.
it's an honor. And Jimmy Schulman on bass,
On
who
bass.
has Hades nonfiction. These guys, this is a Jersey. This is a core Jersey group of guys here. As far as the Jersey metal thing, I mean, I'm an honorary member of the state of New Jersey at this point.
Awesome. You got to know how to say forget about it now.
Bada bing,
I mean, forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. His brother, right? So
Brother.
yeah, so I'm excited about the record. I mean, people can get it now. The CDs are I don't have a release date for that, but that's coming like any day now for
Yeah.
CDs and then vinyl. For those of you who need to hold it in their hand, I'm one of those guys. But it's been available for download since last month, and you can hear it for free at a site called Here Now. It's like Cassius King / HereNow.com or something. And you can hear all the songs there. It's on Nomad Eel Records. And yeah, it's a great record. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yes.
It's one of the many COVID projects, I guess you could call it. But hell, Dan's already like knocking on my door to do a second
The
record.
second one. Well,
Yeah.
I want to mention these four songs that stand out to me. And for the fans, the name of the band is Cassius King. As he said, he told you where you can get it. The first one is This Side of Forever. He sounds like Dio. It's like a total Dio sounding Sabbath album. Okay. Maybe a little bit of Ripper Owens in there. The second song I like is Traveler, which is a total bass song. And he mentioned Jimmy Schulman. This sounds like an NIB, has an NIB intro, Nativity in Black. He plays the bass. It sounds a lot like Giza. The drum song on the album is called Apocalyptic Nations. Ron Lipnicki, who we mentioned, Lipnicki from Overkill, total drum song. Me being a drummer, love it, love it, love it. And the last one I want to mention is Below the Stones, where I believe your voice, it's amazing how your voice changes and you can morph into these other artists. I don't know if you do that conscientiously, but Joey Belladonna, I hear Joey Belladonna in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever had any comparison to Joey. I love Joey's voice. I, you know, there's there's a lot going on in my head when I hear a riff for the first time. Usually it's a melody, and not necessarily the lyric. Sometimes it is the lyric and the song writes itself kind of thing. But I'm telling you, as I mentioned earlier, when I hear Dan's riffs, it makes me go into this old Ozzy Dio Sabbathy kind of
And you
like
hear it right away.
Trouble. I love Doom, old Doom. I love the band Orchid, which is a total blatant rip of old Ozzy Sabbath. And so if you love old Ozzy Sabbath and you don't know about Orchid, you'll either get a laugh about it or you'll buy everything they release because it's fucking great. So there's a lot of but Trouble comes to mind, especially Traveler. When Traveler kicks in, a lot of people have emailed me back or whatever. Go, dude, I hear Trouble, and I'm a huge Trouble fan. Um, Eric Wagner and Rick Wortell, and I love Trouble. I love Trouble. So I wasn't even thinking Trouble, but it was more about the riff and what that riff was telling me the song needed, and that's usually where I go. So I'm taking these as compliments. You're mentioning all these
Absolutely
great singers
compliments.
that I love and the way that they write and their melodies and everything. And I've described my vocalization on this Cassius King record as Ozzy and Dio playing poker over Sabbath demos.
I hear
And
it. I hear it.
it's kind of a cartoony way to look at it. But
No way.
I was having that much fun, writing the record and going in and out of sort of an Ozzy voice into a Dio voice. I mean, I feel like Below the Stones, I'm that first thing you hear, below the stone, I'm kind of singing out of my nose a little. It's very Ozzy. It's very Ozzy. It's very
I hear Joey throughout that song, but
yeah, okay. And it's very also kind of like cocky sounding, a little bit, which has nothing to do with what the lyrics are about, but
right,
it's this sort of like snotty, maybe English accent a little bit that I'm using to just like give a nod to the obvious.
right. Well, listen, you mentioned vocal coaching. I've been waiting 30 years to do this. I'm going to embarrass myself now, Jason. You ready? You ready for this? Now, this is a New York boy. Baby, baby,
Man, that's pretty good.
how's that, baby?
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. So how many times did you sing that in your young self?
With my hair in front of my mirror, I can't tell you how many, Jason. And you just made my day by letting me do that. I'm telling you, I don't give a shit. I
Hey,
love I
it's
love
your
that first
show.
album. Yeah, yeah. I love that first album. I love you. I loved your voice. And you're so brutally honest. This is one of the best interviews I've done, just on your brutal honesty. I really, really appreciate it. And anybody wants to get in touch with Jason and see what's happening with him, you can check him out at www.jasonmcmaster.net.
That's right.
He has shows coming up in the Texas area. We're keeping our fingers crossed. And listen, we got to support him if you want to see him. I keep telling everyone. Everybody says, "Oh, come to New York." You want him to come to New York. You got to support him. You got to physically buy his CDs. You got to buy his merch. They're not making money any other way. Believe me, right, Jay?
Yeah, yeah. The demand has to be there. If someone says "Cash is king," I love it. Come to New York.
Right, right,
Well,
right, right.
that's gonna be someone investing enough money to buy me a plane ticket to New Jersey, and we're gonna play at a club that's right by those other guys' house.
Yeah,
So they will
I
have to
gotcha.
spend no money because they're literally walking across the street to play the gig. I have to fly from Texas and then fly back home.
I know.
And
Like
and
I
I've
mentioned, logistically, it's got to
yeah,
make sense.
logistically, there's certain ways that I mean, the toys. I mean, that's pretty much how it works. If there's a promoter that thinks he can sell tickets at a club that has, last week they had Faster Pussycat and Enough's Enough. Oh, the toys would probably work here because we have that kind of fan base. That's
Yes,
how it's going to work in your area. If
and
you don't have that kind of a club in your area, that logistically is not going to work.
exactly. And this is why I do what I do, Jason. It's my passion. I'm just a little spoke in the wheel, trying to get the word out about everybody, anybody that we can support, any musically, merch, anything. I spread the word. I try to do whatever I can. That's the only
Awesome.
way. It's not like it was in the old days. Believe me, you know that.
Awesome.
So I really do want to thank you for coming on the show. I can't thank you enough. I'll follow you wherever you go. I wish you continued health, wealth, and happiness. And
Awesome.
anyone wants to get in touch with Jason, remember, jasonmcmaster.net. And
Awesome.
Jason, look out for an email. I have something for you. I'll tell you in the email.
I was just gonna say, we can say this now on air, or you can turn it off, and we can have a chat after this if you want to.
Once I turn it off, it's off with the
Yeah,
Zoom.
we can talk. We can. I don't care if people hear this. So I want to send you some stuff. I have
Holy cow.
a record that recently came out that was actually recorded in 2002 by a band I played bass and sang for called Godzilla Motor Company.
Heard about it. Don't have it.
Okay.
I heard
Good.
about it.
Yeah, so that's available on CD for the first time. That was a band that was between, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, like the late 90s, get kind of weird. I was doing a lot of different things. Well, one of the things is I was writing songs with these guys, Godzilla Motor Company, and we were playing around Texas and Oklahoma and stuff like that. And the world didn't know what to do because we had sent press kits out everywhere, and because of rock and roll was still weird. It
Right,
still is
right.
weird. They didn't know what to do with it. It's metal, but there's so much melody and so much
Wow. I'd love
going
to hear that.
on.
I would
Yeah,
love
yeah,
to hear
yeah.
that.
I would like to send you that. And for those of you who want to check it out, you can also hear that at Here Now. It's Godzilla Motor Company, spelled
H.
GAHGZILLA Motor Company,
Yes.
/herenow.com, I believe is it. And you can hear all the songs. It's 16 songs. We never had an official release. We opened for Suicidal Tendencies. We opened for Duff's Loaded. We we did all kinds of great things, but it was one of those things just for whatever reason didn't get off the ground because of the musical landscape, I believe.
Man, I look forward. Thank you so much for even thinking about me. I can't believe it. Thank you so much.
Well, have you heard now I'm just plugging my shit.
Igniter.
Have you heard Igniter?
Yes,
Yeah.
Igniter.
Power metal stuff. Yep. We
Yeah,
have a record out called
Broken Teeth.
The Golden Age of Black Magic by Igniter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send you that.
Oh wow.
Let's see. Howling Sycamore. What do you know about that?
That one I don't know about.
What about Evil United?
That one I heard of.
Okay. Howling Sycamore.
You got like so many. That's why I said I can't. We can mention them, but I can't. It's just not enough time to talk about all of them.
Well, that's right. So we'll get out of here, and at least I got to shamelessly plug those.
Plug whoever you want. We got 7 minutes left, if you like.
People can go and find Howling Sycamore, Evil United, Igniter, Broken Teeth, Cassius King, Dangerous Toys.
You're in a band called Dangerous Toys?
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, I know you do. I do too.
Yeah. Jason, my buddy, you're part of the Rock Shop family now, my brother. The Queen's Boy and the Cowboy.
Send me a t-shirt.
That's what I'm going to send you.
Okay, good.
That's what I'm going to send you. I'm going to give me the address and the size. I'm going to send it to you in the email, and I get one. Promise you, get it right out to you.
Well, I wear medium, but I'll give you my address off camera.
Absolutely. Jason, thank you so much, brother. Continue wealth, health, and happiness.
Thank you.
And I look forward to that Cassius King, hopefully tour, maybe. Keep our fingers crossed. And Dangerous Toys, of course.
Who knows? We might tour when we have 2 records out. I don't know about this one.
So. We got you. Thanks a lot, brother. I'll email you. Take care. Bye.
Buddy. Bye-bye.
Later.